a set of Vernier calipers which we'll be using in the second part of the exercise. Let's have a zoom in on this and have a look at the close end, more closely at the end where measurements are made. So first off we'll zoom down a little bit. Now this set of calipers actually has both a metric scale along the bottom and an imperial scale in inches along the top. We'll concentrate on this bottom scale, which is the metric scale. The first thing I want you to notice is when I move the jaws completely shut, let's have a look at where the actual zero measuring point is. The jaws are shut, measuring zero. You do not measure at the edge of the metal. The measurement point is on the sliding scale where the zero mark is, and it lines up exactly with the zero mark on the top scale. So that's the 0 point. Now have a look at the scales. On the main scale, by the time we're out to 5 centimetres, which is 50 millimetres out here, notice that there are 50 markings on the sliding scale or the Vernier scale, but they only come out to 49 millimetres. So that means this Vernier scale, or the sliding scale, each marking on that is 1/50th of a millimetre further out of step with the main scale. And the trick with Vernier calipers is if I just open the calipers a very small amount, to about just over half a millimetre there, there's a very small gap there. And if you have a look at the measuring point, that dash is between the 0 and 1 millimetre mark. Now to work out exactly how far along it is, you have to look square onto the scale and find a scratch that matches up, and that's happening around about here. You see about the 5-4 mark is lining up with the main scale. If I put that directly under the camera, it's about that 5-4 mark. It could be the 5-2 mark, it might be the 5-6 mark, it's a little bit hard to determine, but I would read that as 0.54 of a millimetre, and given the difficulty of reading the scale, I'd probably say that's at least plus or minus 0.02 of a millimetre. We're going to use the Vernier caliper to measure the length and diameter of a cylinder. So what I'll do is I have a cylinder of brass here. You're going to be working with aluminium. I'll get the calipers and I'll clamp them onto the ends of the cylinder like that, and I'll tighten a little lock nut at the top here to lock everything in place. So I can now take that cylinder out of there and we can have a look at the measurement. Now we've zoomed in a little bit to try and see this a little bit more clearly, but the first thing we'll need to notice is that the reading point, that 0 mark, is between the 2.9 and the 3.0 centimetre mark, or the 29 millimetre and 30 millimetre mark. So the measurement's somewhere between 29 millimetres and 30 millimetres. Now the next thing we have to do is to be very, very careful to look exactly square on, or as square on as we can, to the reading point of the scale. And as you read across here, we're looking for a scratch that lines up. The decision's a bit hard to make, but about that scratch there, about 6.4. So that's about 0.64. It might be 0.62, it might be 0.66. So I'm going to read that measurement as 29.64 plus or minus 0.02 millimetres.